Hello. Fear and failure are two words that sting the soul. Fear is defined as an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something can cause danger, while failure is defined as a lack of success. These two words tend to really consume people. They tend to follow everyone everywhere, and they really halt us from experiencing our true potential that God has called us to have. But I think that we should try and look at fear and failure in a different light and look at the positives that come from it instead of the negatives. So in 2 Corinthians 12:9-10, it states, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong.'" So this verse really pushes me to ask the question, what if we looked at our weaknesses as strengths? Because it's pretty evident here that the weaknesses that we have, God uses then to show his strength. And it's in those failures and fears that God shines so much more than we could ever imagine. So I think it's really important in everything that we do that we glorify God, even when we're consumed in fear or facing failure. But how do we do that? Typically when I'm filled with fear or facing an obstacle, I turn away from God rather than to God. But in this verse, it says that we should, that God uses persecutions and weaknesses and insults to create more power that will then glorify him. And if we were to look at an analogy to help with the situation, I think a flashlight resembles it really well. So if you go outside and you turn a flashlight on, you can still see the light that emits from the flashlight, but it's not as clear or as visible as if you were to do it in a dark room. And I think this resembles God's ability to work in our life pretty well, especially when we're going through a dark period of our life. So in your darkest times, when you're filled with fear and failure, and you just decide to turn that light on and trust God, that's when he's going to shine more than you could ever imagine. And even in those times of fear and failure, as we turn to God, our relationship with him grows even more. So it's just really beneficial all around. And we should praise him, even in our darkest periods of time as well. So, because of our weaknesses and our shortcomings and our failures, we're in need of Christ. And because of Christ, we're able to continue with our life. Only Christ can transform those weaknesses into strengths. And I think that these shortcomings are where God then works the most in our life. And we sort of are forced to then depend on God because of these failures and shortcomings that we have. And about a year ago, I found this song, and it has really good lyrics, and I think it resonates really well with what I'm talking about. But it says, "You brought me to the desert so you could be my water. You brought me to the fire so you could be my shield. And you brought me to the darkness so you could be my morning. If you brought me this far, wherever you lead me, I know you won't leave me. Wherever you call, you will make a way." He uses our shortcomings and our failures to shine brighter and grow closer with us. And I hope this speech helps in pushing you to turn to God rather than away from God when you're just going through a really dark period of your life where things are feeling lost and just you feel alone. So praise him when you feel unworthy, and cry out to him when you feel you have no voice, and rely on him at all times. Thank you.